Hello, my name is Matthew Stevenson from Imperial Brands plc, Harm Reduction and Engagement Team. I am presenting today on an in vitro approach to measure enamel staining potential of traditional tobacco products and non-combustible tobacco and nicotine products. First, some background to these products. Over the last 10 years, a host of new non-combustible so-called next-generation nicotine products have been developed, including e-vapor, heated tobacco products, and oral nicotine pouches. The scientific assessment of these products is predominantly focused on the harm reduction potential of these products. A relative risk scale has been developed and places products on a risk scale depending on how many toxicants are present in them. The presented Imperial Brands version is available at this website. An emerging area of scientific substantiation which appears to have relevance with some smokers is the impact of these new products on personal appearance compared to combustible cigarettes. In other words, not safety or disease endpoint focused. For this reason, we explored an in vitro method to determine the teeth staining impact of cigarettes versus these non-combustible next generation products. So, we took human teeth from consenting adult donors and created 4x4mm enamel blocks and mounted them to resin. Teeth were immersed in test samples for 14 days with photography and teeth colour measurements taken with spectrophotometer at baseline and 7-day intervals. We used established comparative products known to stain teeth, namely instant coffee and red wine. For the combustible and non-combustible products, we extracted smoke and aerosols through established methods using either Cambridge filter pads or bubbling direct through phosphate buffered saline, PBS, to extract components. DMSO was used to extract components collected on the Cambridge filter pad for the cigarette total particulate matter sample, which was subsequently diluted in PBS. Likewise, we used PBS to extract tobacco and tobacco-free nicotine pouches using a method equivalent to ISO 10993-12, Biological Evaluation of Medical Devices. Due to the chemical simplicity, we used PBS, removing any interference on the test and allowing the test to be reproduced easily. Following bubbling or extraction in PBS, all of the samples underwent chemical analysis to quantify the nicotine levels present. We sought to expose enamel samples to physiologically relevant levels of smoke, aerosol, pouch constituents, so we diluted all samples to a common nicotine level of 50 micrograms per milliliter. Despite having common nicotine levels, the samples had different appearances and different optical densities, demonstrating that other components in the smoke aerosol extracts were contributing to any observed coloration of the samples. Here we graphically present the mean total colour change, delta E, derived according to the equation shown. The light blue and red bars denote the two different fractions of cigarette smoked extract. The dark blue and dark red bars denote the coffee and red wine samples. Cigarette smoke, red wine and coffee caused a statistically significant change in colour which grew over time, whilst the non-combustible NGPs caused no significant changes in colour. Here are photographic representative images of enamel blocks at 14 days post-exposure. The top row shows stained enamel blocks, red or brown discoloration depending on the sample, whilst the bottom row samples did not cause any statistically significant discoloration. In conclusion, red wine, coffee and combustible cigarette samples caused a statistically significant discoloration of the enamel blocks, whilst no statistically significant discoloration was determined for heated tobacco, e-vapor, tobacco snus pouch or tobacco-free nicotine pouches when compared to negative control. The results suggest that if consumers were to switch to exclusive use of NGPs, it could result in marked reduction in tooth staining potential when compared to combustible cigarette. However, longer-term studies may be required utilising preclinical and clinical assessments to fully verify the findings of this study. These studies would also have to assess lifestyle factors that could also drive enamel staining. A big thank you goes to all my colleagues at Imperial Brands plc and also to Thomas and Gavin from Intertech who performed the assessment of the enamel samples. To learn more about Imperial Brands science and to gain access to our open scientific literature, please use the following link. Here is my conflict of interest statement.